is really bad or needs to be critiqued or fixed. Let's just go back to enjoying things. These angry nerds wanted to make criticism of the things that they enjoy look ridiculous. And through bad faith takes, they did just that. They diminished the value there is to be had in criticism. So you too would also devalue criticism. Not to mention, with a slew of bad takes, it made it harder to discern what good faith criticism was. One of the worst side effects of nerd culture going mainstream, in my opinion, was tying your morality to the media you consume. But thankfully, for the most part, that era of criticism has finally subsided. Now let's talk about the nerd to fascist pipeline, or how machine learning algorithms radicalized nerds to the alt-right in the 2010s. Basically, this system is the end result of everything we've been talking about. Firstly, you have some angry cis-het white nerds internalize the late 20th and early 21st century patriarchal power fantasy of going from lowly nerd to tech millionaire. From there, they become even angrier when they become disillusioned with that dream, since only a small handful of geeks and nerds ever actually achieved capitalistic success. But rather than blame the capitalist patriarchy and toxic masculinity, they begin to believe that their oppression stems from the content they enjoy and identify with, and turn themselves into victims. But then this narrative too becomes disrupted when later the same material that they based their identity on became widely loved and accepted, thus making these men even more spiteful. This fire then continued to be stoked via the mass onslaught of criticism of said properties due to fourth wave feminism and online activism. And thus, the alt-right, as opportunistic as ever, saw a new recruiting base primed to see their new wave fascist movement as a place of refuge, and both directly and indirectly brought angry white men over through creating content on platforms whose addicting algorithms work by suggesting the same content over and over, and by infiltrating online fandom spaces where these types of nerds typically hang out. The pipeline I'm going to describe is basically the pipeline that Ian Danskin from Innuendo Studios illustrated in their video entitled How to Radicalize a Normie, mixed with the pyramid of violence from the Pootie pipeline by Non-Compete, but I've also added in some of my own details. So with all that said, let's take a stroll. Let's say you're just a regular cis-het white guy on the internet in the 2010s who describes themselves as a nerd. You have geeky interests, you go to conventions, you're a part of various fan forums, and have friends online who share your love of niche subcultures. But that's all that really binds you to these fan groups and friends, your shared love of X, Y, or Z. You don't really talk about your personal life or politics, even though you know a lot of the people in this space are politically left-leaning. Contrary to them, you think fandom isn't a place for politics, so it's just never come up. And when it has, you just kinda roll your eyes. But now a new movie from a franchise you like has been announced, and there's something different about the cast that makes you feel kind of uncomfortable, as if they're trying to right a past wrong the franchise has done, and therefore that you have done, as you tie so much of your own identity to said media. To cleanse your palate and assure yourself that you in no way could or would ever consume sexist or racist art, you start watching debunking videos on YouTube. These videos consist of atheists debunking creationists, because you see yourself as a rational centrist. But soon, those same people start to debunk feminism. And this content is the stuff that finally makes you feel seen. And your bias is continually confirmed, as a lot of the feminism you're seeing online is extremely cringe. Mainly BuzzFeed talking about manspreading and how Disney princesses are problematic. Really? Disney princesses? Don't these people have lives, you think? This pop feminism only serves to push you further right, and again, confirm your bias that these angry women have nothing better to do. Instead of watching Anita Sarkeesian's videos, you watch people debunking them. And the gist you get is that she just wants to ruin things, when of course that wasn't the goal of her project, but that's what's being sold to you. And you choose not to listen to her actual thoughts because the algorithm and your human brain work together to keep you in your comfort zone, to keep you safe, to keep you from thinking too hard. And then, after watching some very angry videos about Sarkeesian, you start to get offered anti-Semitic videos, and then videos about natural selection. And the deeper you go, the more isolated you become from the media and the fellow fans that made you so angry in the first place. And the content gets more radical as well. But the key in keeping you inside is that you continue to think that you're at the